Welcome back. As now we will invite the panelists to start the third panel, Emerging Roles in Global Technology, from Semiconductors to Digital Innovation. Please join me with a round of applause to invite our moderator and speakers to the stage. Let's welcome Dr. Zhang Peiren, Professor of the Institute of Applied Mechanics at National Taiwan University, as the moderator. Join us are Mr. Tobiáš Lipold, Research Fellow from Sinopsis, Mr. Mathias Léopoldie, co-founder and CEO of Julaya, a B2B neobank operating across West Africa, Ms. Joelle Itoua Owona, founder and CEO at AfriWell, a healthcare platform connecting patients and healthcare professionals, Mr. Yunhai Lin, Head of Semiconductor and National Innovation Center from the Ministry of Finance in Vietnam. Dr. Zhang, the floor is yours.
I have to wait for 3 seconds, okay? So the EM wave travel here very slow, okay? It takes 3 seconds, okay? I have to confess that, not religious confession, but that I have to confess, this section is more related to international cooperation and the business opportunity instead of geopolitics, okay? So, but I believe that this session should be more interesting than purely geopolitics. So today we are very happy that we have 4 speakers, 1 from Europe, and 2 from Africa, and 1 from Asia. And we would like to invite them to share their perspective on the international cooperation and also business opportunity from semiconductor to digital technology, whatever, okay? So, so I will invite our speaker to speak first, and then after that, I'll probably just add a few pieces of information. Okay, that's a start from our speaker from Czech Republic, Tobiáš, please, yeah.
1, 2, 3. Oh, okay, yes. All right, thank you, Professor Zhang. So, hello, my name is Tobiáš Lipold, and I would like to talk about the cooperation in technology and semiconductors between the Czech Republic and Taiwan. So, I would start with saying that the Czech Republic has some strong foundation when it comes to technological supply chains. For example, the cluster of Czech companies contributes to about 1/3 of world's production of electron microscopes, making the country a global leader in this precision optics. Another example could be cybersecurity or software design, as Czech firms like Avast or ESET are recognized worldwide. And together with our strong engineering schools, they form an important digital innovation base. Well, the current flourishing Czech-Taiwanese cooperation is also built on some strong foundations and long history. The best example would be the Taiwanese company Foxconn that has been operating in the Czech Republic for over than 2 decades. With several large facilities, and its subsidiary company has grown into major employer and basically one of the largest company in the country. Now, the greater turn we started seeing in Czech-Taiwan technological cooperation in the recent years was preceded by global shifts in how supply chains are perceived, as the COVID-19 pandemic exposed just how fragile these chains can be, and as, for example, in the Czech Republic, the lack of semiconductors the lack of chips hit our automotive industry especially hard, and since the Czech economy is largely based on this industry, if it was, of course, a wake-up call for the people in the country at that time. Now, at the same time, Taiwan around that time, Taiwan began to look for ways how to diversify supply chains and strengthen its footprint in Europe. Now, at that time, the Czech political representatives recognized this was the right moment, and it was the opportunity to push forward an effective economic diplomacy. And since then, we have seen a real acceleration in mutual projects in semiconductor fields, and Taiwanese companies are considering making new investments in the country. And at the same time, the Czech firms are looking into ways how to participate in the let's say new ecosystem that is being built around the big fab in Dresden. Now, the Czech-Taiwanese cooperation already has several concrete results, mainly in creation of several mutual projects focusing on semiconductors. One of them being the Advanced Chip Design and Research Center that was established last year, which links several Czech universities with Taiwan's national applied research laboratories, and which focuses on training new chip talents, and it's helping to foster the Czech semiconductor ecosystem. Now, there are another project like this, like the Taiwan Chip Academy, or another big project called the Supply Chain Resilience Center between the Charles University and NCCU here in Taipei. Now, with these projects, many scholarships and training programs have already sent dozens of Czech students to Taiwan to study semiconductors, not just to help them to be able to make the semiconductors, but also creating strong human links between the two innovation systems. Now, on the business side, the cooperation has been growing, especially since the establishment of the Taipei office of the Czech Invest Agency, which supports foreign companies in navigating the Czech market and identifying opportunities in the market. Now, just recently, the Czech Invest Agency announced a huge success as the Taiwanese battery maker CTEC is just announced that it is opening its first European representative office in Czech Republic, and is planning to follow that with building a factory. At the same time, the Taiwanese company CTI Cable is also did some investments in the country this year, and actually is already finishing its production facility. Now, the Czech Invest is also the organizer of tomorrow's Czech Pavilion, which I recommend to visit, and which will be also opened by the Czech Minister of Science and Research, who arrived to Taipei personally. Now, for Taiwan, the development of semiconductor supply chains in the Czech Republic and the Central Europe region is also strategically significant, as it offers diversification, and it also has some advantages. The Czech market has some advantages, such as the large automotive industry that is rapidly electrifying and digitalizing, and it's also close to the big hub in Dresden. And also, by entering Czech Republic, Taiwan gets its trusted partners within the EU, and which can help anchor the Taiwanese companies securely in the region. Now, looking ahead, there are four main directions for future cooperation. First, that's the talent, as both countries need more engineers. Second is the research and innovation, as Czechia can become a testbed for applying semiconductor technologies in the areas such as automotive. And third, it's the resilient supply chains, as even though Czech Republic is not going to host a mega fab like the one in Dresden, but it can become an essential link in the supply chains, in the design, testing, packaging, etc. And for Taiwan, that means a secure base in Europe. Now, the last thing I would like to mention is also the supply chain security. As just now, in the Czech Republic, a new cybersecurity law will come in effect in several months, 2 months, and so the developing cooperation in Taiwan can help us to actually use this law effectively. And at the same time, I think that we also have some experience to offer when it comes to when it comes to cybersecurity and supply chain security, as the agency that came up with this law, the National Cybersecurity Agency, became internationally recognized after its breakthrough warning report on Huawei in 2018. And I think they have a lot to say. Now, I will now finish here and let the other speakers.
Oh, yes, thank you very much for your sharing. I would like to add a few pieces of information. One is that as far as I understand that electron microscope is very strong. The industry is very strong in Czech Republic. You just mentioned that 1/3 of the world supply is from Czech Republic, right? And so I believe that if we say something related to semiconductor industry, metrology probably that's very essential that to use the electron microscope. You just think about that. Another one is that I believe that the cooperation, especially between government of Taiwan and government of Czech Republic, that's quite serve as a model for other countries to team up with either Czech Republic or either with Taiwan. That's a model, serve as a model for other countries. Okay. And the third one is that actually space, low Earth orbit electronics. That's one thing, another thing we could think about. Okay, thank you. So then, Mathias, would you like to share your insight to the potential development in Africa? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm Mathias Léopoldie. I'm the co-founder of a neobank, a fintech company based in West Africa. So we operate in 4 markets: Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, Benin, and Togo. Was launched 7 years ago. Just from some data, we processed around 1 billion euros worth of transactions for about like 2,500 companies that we address. I'm here part with Joelle of the French African Foundation delegation. And I would like to address my thanks to the MOFA team, Mr. Liu, Ms. Anfisa, for hosting us also. It's a foundation that brings voices from Africa and France and from every sector, so entrepreneurs, policymakers, scientists, artists. And this gives us the opportunity to exchange and have a broader view than just only technology for the continent. So I would like to start my little address with a story, and maybe a question for the audience. Has anyone here heard about Transsion? No. Someone? Yes. Thank you. So Transsion is the number 4th phone maker in the world, after Apple, Samsung, and Xiaomi. But they only sell phones mostly in Africa. They went there in 2008 in Nigeria, and they found out that to address this market, you needed to localize technology, right? Because the other technologies were not fitted for the market. Why? Is because first they discovered that power is unreliable in Africa. So you needed to build different kinds of batteries for these markets. So they were the first one to actually have very high capability batteries for the market. Second, also, networks are also unreliable. So you needed to have dual SIM before dual SIM was in other phones. You know, it was like mono SIMs. So people in Africa switch networks based on where they are. Also, the skin color is different. So to win the market, you know, they actually changed the design of the cameras so that they could better capture the skin colors. And then also for distribution, they had like some particular center. And it will be interesting to note that they also bundled the phones with the payments wallet. And this makes it very successful because it's not only a phone, but it's also a bank at the same time. So this brings me to why would the fintech founder talk about technology and semiconductor panel. And it's because also Africa is a leading market for payments and fintech. So about 15 years ago, there was a revolution where the telecom operators started venturing into the financial space. And today, I'm based in Côte d'Ivoire, so I live in Abidjan. 80% of the population here pays and transfer money with their phone. Joelle, also based in Central Africa, you pay with your phone also? Okay. Whereas like in Taiwan, 40% of transactions are still cash, which is a very different market. And it's very important for technology. So I would like to say that for like the semiconductor industry, Africa can be a resilience lab. Why is first because there is a big need for connectivity. Last year, I think it was about in March, there were 4 undersea cables that got cut, and about like 13 countries went offline for 2 days. Did you go offline also last year? Okay, you were lucky, but all of West Africa, we went offline for 2 days. So now there's a rush for new cable connectivity, and it's a big opportunity. But more important is for compute, because the Africa, we only have 1% of worldwide data center capabilities, whereas in 2050, we'll have 25% of the world population. So you see the spread between the demand that will be huge. And also for devices, as I said, there is a big demand for particular devices, and the smartphone market is growing faster than anywhere in the world. Still last year, the overall market there grew two digits number over the year. So maybe a few ideas. You can have maybe assembly and test capabilities for the semiconductor there, because it's uncharted. There is the need to tropicalize the chips, make them resistant to heat. You have like very, let's say, harsh weather conditions, humid and heat, a bit like here. And also, you can design for particular needs like offline and embed offline capabilities in the secure elements. I would say the opportunity is now. The other countries are moving fast, especially in the region. Singapore, they just announced, they just had a big business forum where they announced big investment with the African Sim Bank. And they announced also investment in Côte d'Ivoire. Japan, they just pledged $5.5 billion with the African Development Bank, with a strong focus on technology and training of 30,000 AI experts in the continent. And also something maybe we'll talk about, like they secured provisioning for critical minerals in DRC, especially. So as a conclusion, I can say that Africa can give you demand certainty with the smartphone and data center demand. Resilience, because if you build the chips that will resist and thrive in those environments, it can thrive in other regions. And also, well, the resilience for supply chain. So if you localize the content there, the big market opportunities are huge. Thank you, Professor.
3, okay. 1, 2, 3, okay. Mathias, I would like to thank you for sharing with us a very interesting points, okay? One is that you mentioned in your script that the Africa should serve as an ultimate resilience lab. That means the product we sell, we want to sell over there, a space chip over there. We have to withstand heat, dust, and the power fluctuation. Actually, I would like to mention Taiwan is also another ultimate resilience lab, but different. It's earthquake and also typhoon, okay? So you just check the history or story about the, for example, semiconductor industry here. We have lots of earthquake, but after each earthquake, the semiconductor production line recover very quickly. That's a fantastic story you could just share with everyone, okay? Another one is just, you mentioned that the offline commerce Okay, off-the-gum, that means that even though the connection is cut, you still could conduct transaction, right? So that's pretty good because in Chinese, we are very happy to learn something, some way to make money when you are serious, when you sleep, okay? So it's an offline commerce, that's pretty good tool for us, okay? Thank you very much for sharing, okay, thank you. So our next panelist is Joelle, right? So please, yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joelle, and I have a confession to make. I am not a semiconductor expert. So why am I here? So together with Mathias, we are joining as young leaders of the French African Foundation. And under increasingly high geopolitical tensions, Africa's role is becoming increasingly important. So we wanted to come here. This is the first time an African delegation is part of the Semicon. And we wanted to come here and become part of Taiwan's story, this incredibly successful story that you've built over the last 50 to 60 years. So I would first like to say thank you. Thank you to the Semicon. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to the MOFA for hosting us. And it's been a pleasure to see so many welcoming faces so far. I landed on Sunday night and I just thought, wow, Taiwan has come such a long way. I looked up old pictures. So I just thought, this is how Douala in Cameroon or Pointe Noire where I live in Congo could be in the next 30 years. And that just instilled high hopes in me, as much as the conviction that the time to realize Africa's potential is now. So in this, we are soliciting your collaboration. So we want to discuss how Africa can be part of that supply chain and what are the advantages Africa already has to actually get on this story. We do believe Taiwan has enough cards to play in that part for Africa. Again, I'm Joelle, and I'm the founder of a telehealth company. We are based in Congo. I'm originally from Cameroon, so covering largely Central Africa so far. Africa can shift from raw ore suppliers to value-adding resilient nodes in the global semiconductor chain within the next decade, I believe. We want to participate in this $1 trillion market that is deemed to be coming by 2030. And here's a practical pathway we believe we can get there. So through first concentrating our refining capacity where minerals required are, I believe some of you might know that 70% of the cobalt used for batteries is actually all coming from DRC. So the idea would be to look at countries like DRC, Zambia, Mozambique, South Africa, and actually have better refining capacity close to the minerals and with better logistics. There's huge investment going, for example, into the Lobito corridor, which is a rail, port, and road corridor built to go from Angola to Zambia, going through the DRC, increasing the capacity for minerals to move around the continent and to go through export directly to the United States or directly to Europe. There is over $6 billion already pledged to this project. And this is deemed to be an over $10 billion project right now, infrastructure project. Secondly, after increasing those refining capacity, we need to plug the material corridors into Africa's rising technology hubs. Hubs are being developed already, looking into some of the basic semiconductor into Egypt, Kenya, South Africa. The idea is that design talent, advanced packaging and test service will be closer to a compliant supply. Some of you may have heard of the AFCA, the African Continental Free Trade Area. This has been enacted, I believe, back in 2021, and Africa will become the largest free trading area with 54 countries, making customs and barrier exchange go down significantly. So exchange has been very fragmented, so we have a lot of conviction that this trade agreement would actually help goods move across the continent. So for companies who come to either trade or set up factories to then sell abroad, this will be critical. This is a 1.3 billion people single market that is being built. And 7 of the 10 largest, the fastest growing markets are in Africa. And third, I want to focus on training. And this is where I believe Taiwan can really play a part. I believe we can request a paid-forward strategy, if you will. A policy that aligned with China investment could really help build training facilities in Africa. Just like Southeast Asia benefited from the Netherlands, the US, or the Japanese strategic bets back in the 70s and 80s, some giants like TSMC and their ecosystem, they can seed capacity in selected African countries, plant installation, joint training academies, etc. There are essentially 4 areas where I believe we could collaborate with Taiwan to build capacity. So one is build talent pipelines at scale, working with ICDF and E3. You already have models where you collaborate with University of Southern California, for example, to build capacity with fellowship. I believe this is something we could easily set up in some of those African country hubs. We could have an Africa design track with universities and pilot different lines for equipments. We really believe in the development of special economic zones that are already underway. Only in Congo, there's already 4 special economic zones that we're building. There's an economic zone in Nigeria. There's one in Côte d'Ivoire that has been built for a while in Gabon. So we want to invite international investors to come set up shop closer to reduce the time it takes to consumers, but also to benefit from special taxation rights. And finally, there's also some faculty development and K-12 pipeline that can be built. Fund chairs, lab kits, and sabbaticals for African faculty to rotate through Taiwan. And I believe Taiwan could definitely play a unique role in developing the semiconductor industry in Africa. And this is why we're here to invite you to do with your expertise, your patience, and your collaboration. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joelle. Okay, and very happy to come to Taiwan. Okay, so I have a few information that would share with you that actually Taiwan's semiconductor industry started in the year 1976. So it's almost, at that time we dispatched a young team of engineers to go to US to learn the specifically from RCA to transfer technology and back to Taiwan. And starting from that point, so it just it already spent close to 50 years to achieve today's status. Okay, just would like to share with you. And very happy that you mentioned E3. Before I went back to become a professor again, I worked for E3 for 7 years. That's why I'm allowed to sit here. Okay, so I am just very curious that how do you know the TSMC's multi-project wafer shuttle? That's very specific. Only insider knows the process. Okay.
So we are. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We are. So over the last 36 hours, we've actually met a lot of different actors in the ecosystem. We arrived Sunday night, and Monday we've been visiting both trade agencies, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and so I was able to meet a lot of different actors and people who know the sectors really well here, and I've been asking questions, and some of the people knew about it.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Actually, the TSMC multi-project wafer shuttle service is a very huge benefit to students, engineers here, because the whole wafer cost is just too high for, even though for like universities. So that's why the service, the shuttle service could provide the opportunity for students to realize their design. Otherwise, they could use software for simulation. That's a very great help to the training of talents. Okay, so that's the only thing you could think about. And also, I would like to share with you that in Taiwan, the TSI, the centralized training facility for the IC design students. Up today, they could use the technology up to a 16 nanometer node. Okay, that's a huge, huge benefit to engineer and also for graduate students. You could think about one day probably you could try to establish that kind of service with to team up with Taiwan. Okay, thank you. Okay, so finally we come to Dr. Lin. Dr. Lin will share with the perspective from Vietnam. Okay.
Hello everyone, 你好，我叫阮玲，我很高兴认识你。I'm kidding, my Chinese is so-so, so I will speak English. I'm a doctor in signal processing and mechatronics. I live in Paris for 11 years, and then I went back to Vietnam and worked for Vietnamese government. Thank you for organizing this meaningful forum. And also let us share about our point of view and information about our countries. First of all, yeah, I see a lot of you are a little bit tired after a long afternoon, so I will give you some interesting information between Taiwan and Vietnam. For your information, right now in Taiwan, there are more than 100,000 families between Taiwanese and Vietnamese. Yeah, it's quite impressive. Vietnam is just more than 2 hours flight from Taiwan, Taipei. So we are neighbor. We are really close. In Vietnam right now, there are a lot of Taiwanese company. Yeah, for example, in this industry, we have Foxconn, Pegatron, Wistron, and new investment, new project from MediaTek, Airchip. Yeah, a lot of Taiwanese company coming to Vietnam right now. I would like to share more about the background of Vietnam. First of all, we have a large population of more than 100 million people, young and good at STEM, science technology. For example, for the international Olympiad in math, in physics, and in chemistry, Vietnam was always in top 10 or even in top 5. We share the same culture with Taiwan, with China, Japan, Korea. People work really hard. People really good at math, at science. So that is the reason why I believe that Vietnam will be the future star for this industry, because we have the potential of the East Asian countries. We also right now we are a new player for semiconductor sector, but we already have a very developed electronics ecosystem. For example, Samsung, they invest for more than 20 billion US dollar in Vietnam. So, for example, 60% of Samsung mobile phone manufactured in Vietnam. Apple through Taiwanese suppliers such as Foxconn, Pegatron, or Luxshare, they invest in Vietnam for nearly 20 billion US dollar. Yeah, it's a lot of money. In Vietnam, we have stable political system. Yeah, let's say if we are in a storm around the world for the political system, but in Vietnam we are really stable. And for the economy, for the last 30 years, Vietnam maintained consistently high and stable economic growth rate. So Vietnam is one of the fastest growing economy in Asia and around the world. And for the next 5 years, we target to grow more than 10% per year for the next 5 years. Yeah, it's really a a big target, but right now our government, we are trying our best to really to realize that goal. Right now, Dr. Chang, Professor Chang, share about mentioned about the international cooperation. In 2023, at the official visit to Vietnam of the U.S. President, Vietnam and U.S. upgraded the relation between two countries to the highest level of two countries. And the two, we focus the two most important things are about innovation and semiconductor. And from that, we participate to the CHIP Act program of the U.S. and yeah, a lot of U.S. companies, for example, Intel. Intel, they have the largest ATP factory around the world in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. We have the new R&D center from NVIDIA. Last December, actually, Rensen Huang, the president and chairman of NVIDIA, he visited Vietnam, and we announced the new R&D center of NVIDIA in Vietnam, Qualcomm. Also, Qualcomm just last month, the president went to Vietnam and announced the third largest R&D center of Qualcomm around the world in Vietnam, after U.S. and India. And we work a lot with U.S. We are a hub for Korean companies, Samsung, LG. We also working closely with Japan, like right now, for example, with Kyushu region. A lot of new fab, a new investment, with the shortage of talent. So we are working with Japanese government and partner to talent. So we could train for about 50,000 engineers. So we would like to work with Taiwan for the talent. Thank you.
Actually, from the script you sent to me yesterday, that in Vietnam, you already have 50 IC design companies with more than 7,000 engineers. And also in the packaging industry, you have more than 10,000 technicians, engineers. Okay, so that's a great progress in this area. Okay, thank you very much for sharing. So I forgot to keep tracking the time. So how much time do we have left?
The floor to the audience for the QA session. We might collect 2 to 3 questions for the first round.
Okay.
Is that okay for everyone?
Yeah, okay. Let's take 2 to 3 questions.
So please raise your hand, identify your
please.
name, affiliation, and keep the question short, approximately within 30 seconds for each question. Anyone?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Our staff will hand you the mic.
各位你好，我叫魏卡尔，我来自美国哈。So I'm the American in the room, huh? So I'm bilingual in Mandarin, studied my Mandarin in Taiwan. I am also in the semiconductor industry and smart card industry. I met Morris Chang in 1985, Brother Hotel in Taipei. He's not Taiwanese, let me tell you. Here's the question. The problem with all semiconductors is it's a very complex industry. 非常复杂的那个半导体行业. So what you need is water and power. These are the 2 most important things. But with the advent of AI, large language models, and inference at the edge, comes the other problem, which is how do you generate new sources of energy? You've got options, but how do you do that? So my humble opinion is, you might or might not agree, there's only going to be a few countries in the world that make semiconductor chips. What do you guys think? That's it.
Thank
Take
you.
it away.
Right. Welcome. Second questions from the audience.
Hi, thank you very much. I was hired from Eureka FinTech, so we are a semiconductor think tank. Yes. So basically, that I'm kind of wondering, like, how do you guys think the landscape will change that because obviously now the U.S. Strategy will actually focusing on to let Japan to produce the chemicals, to let Taiwan to design the chips, and also South Korea for the memories, and then European for the manufacturing equipments. And how will this landscape will be changing over time? That's the first question. And second question is actually when the sites are moving into the U.S. and actually to producing semiconductor that reducing or requiring quite a lot of like waters, clean, like a very clean like waters, like how will the U.S. side may be able to fix this problem? And those two are my question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, actually, we have 3 questions, but actually there are 2. One is related to the energy supply, energy and the water supply. Another one is about the international distribution of work between different countries. I think the second question is just too difficult for us. Yeah, because that's more related to the speakers in section 2. Okay, so after break, please talk to the first section. Regarding the first section, that's about the supply. Mainly, I mean, the infrastructure, electricity, power supply. So we have several speakers here, and I would like to ask them, anyone of you would like to answer that question? How to deal with the, say, for example, in Vietnam, because you just mentioned that the plan for establishing your semiconductor industry, how do you would you address the water supply and the energy supply power? After that, Tobias, would you like to share, please?
Yes. 1, 2, 3. Yes, thank you for the question. In Vietnam right now, firstly, we are ready for electronics manufacturing. So basically, we are ready for semiconductor manufacturing. Secondly, of course, for the in Vietnam we have the new strategy for the energy. Like before we do not have nuclear energy, but right now with the shortage of energy, so we are establishing a nuclear plant in Vietnam to support the new project in high tech. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So Tobias, would you share?
Maybe regarding this question, I can just mention that this problem of infrastructure is exactly the reason why the big fab in Europe, Central Europe, is in Germany and not in, let's say, our country. And when that decision was made, a lot of people in the Czech Republic were surprised, and because they thought, oh, we have really good relations with Taiwan, right? So why did the Germans get the fab and not us? But they just didn't understand that it's, of course, much more problematic question, and it's not just a political decision. And so, yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, please.
So if I may. Hello. Yeah, so if I may, so I mentioned earlier that Kenya, Egypt, and South Africa have already started having some chip activities. So the reason why they select very like legacy nodes, so like very basics one, is because of that capex requirement and the water power demands. And so for those, the water power are lower. The water demands are lower, so that's why they are going into this specific market. And Egypt has already seen some traction with SciWare system. South Africa as well, they have a center for microelectronics and nanotechnology. And in Kenya, they've already launched semiconductor initiatives, and they are really hungry for partnerships. So this is really the beachhead that was seen for Africa for now to sort of kickstart that sector. And of course, we are far behind, and most companies have not really explored the African market, but this is where we want to start.
Thank you for the valuable comments. So given to the time constraint, we weren't able to take another round of questions. I'll hand it back to Dr. Zhang for the last round of thoughts from all the speakers, okay?
Okay, thank you. Actually, hello. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Actually, the problem regarding electricity and power and water, that should be related to Taiwan government. Okay, actually, that the question you bring up is actually quite critical for Taiwan, more critical compared to other countries. But as far as I understand that in terms of the water usage, actually our semiconductor industry try very hard to reuse, to recover. They have to use the water many times. So actually, they have already established a water recycling industry, more or less. Okay, that's one thing. Another one is about the electricity. That's really a critical problem for us. So that's why we have to establish so much green energy. So you could check the power right now. Each day, on average, I believe more than 25% of the energy, the electricity, is either supplied by offshore wind or by the solar panels. Okay, so that we have to provide. But thank you very much for bringing up the question. But that question are really critical for Taiwan. Okay, thank you. But because of time limitation, we have to stop here. Okay, so we have a few minutes that. Ask our panelists to give us a message to share with us. Yes, thank you.
Okay, 3 seconds. Yeah. Yeah. So as my final remark, I was just wanted to mention regarding the Czech-Taiwanese cooperation. I haven't really mentioned the political dimension of that, and. Because of course that was a big part of it why it was successful, because the Czech-Taiwanese relations are, let's say, just really good in the past 4 years. And as I said, like right now we have the minister of the government in the country, which haven't really happened before. But at the same time, in just about 3 weeks, we also have new elections, and which will most likely bring a new government, also maybe a government that will change the course of the foreign policy. So there might be changes in the attitude towards Taiwan in that matter. But what I wanted to say is that I think, or at least I hope, that the cooperation that's already been started is resilient enough that it will survive whatever political change we will face. And as right now it's already more not on the level between politicians and between governments, it's more on the level of institutions. I think it should be resilient.
What I would like to say is when you look at the market sizes today, Africa is not really on the map. And I think it's the first time that an African delegation come to Semicon. But when you look at the growth rate, as Joelle said, the growth opportunities are in Africa. 7 out of the 10 fastest growing economies, I don't know if Taiwan is in the top 10, but are in Africa. So it's like taking the bet. In, back 50 years ago, Philips, the Dutch company, took the bet to invest in TSMC. And today you have one of the most valuable company in the world. So who's going to take the bet to invest in one of the company in these countries, in this industry, and see the growth opportunity there and they'll make the future in the next 20 years? Our message is one of the countries in Africa, or several of them, are this opportunity. Just take the bet.
So I would just like to say that Taiwan is uniquely positioned to collaborate with us. We have missed a few revolutions in Africa. We don't want to miss the next one. with AI being upon us and Taiwan produce 100% of the chips needed for AI. We just want to figure out a point of entry in the market where we can do this at scale as well in Africa. And we believe that with entry of new competitors in the market, the result within the industry will be to chase somewhat lower cost. We have, by 2035, Africa will have the largest global workforce, and 70% of it in Africa is less than 30. So we have to do our part, obviously, and we'll do our part. We have to have engineering programs that are creating armies of engineers. So we have to do our part, but we really solicit more collaboration so that we can have a win-win program and a win-win relationship in the future. Thank you.
My message is that our economy growth more than 8% per year. We will train for between 50 to 100,000 engineers for semiconductor industry for the next 5 years. We have stable political system, so I encourage you, Mr. Lin and Professor Chang, and you to go to Vietnam to understand more about Vietnam. It's only more than 2 hours from here. And yeah, this November, actually, we also work with SEMI, with SEMI, the organization, to organize the SEMI Expo in Vietnam. Not many countries in the world it's chosen to organize the SEMI Expo, but we work closely with SEMIC. Yeah, we have our friend from SEMIC here. So in November 7 and 8, we have the SEMI Expo in Vietnam, and yeah, we invite you all to go to Vietnam and to understand more about our ecosystem. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So finally, I would like to thank our speaker again, and I would like to thank our audience for your participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for the important messages. Please join me around applause to all our speakers and moderator again as we are wrapping up this event.